You clicked on this video because, like me and a lot of other people, your brain will actually resist you taking the changes needed to change your life. And whether it's the gym or it's a business you're starting, we have to eventually to start asking ourselves, why are we inconsistent? What are the reasons? Why are things turning out the way that they are? And why is our brain working against us like this? So that leads me to productive distractions. Now, I, if I'm being completely honest and frank, was being the biggest bitch for the longest time about starting my YouTube channel. I was a certified personal trainer. I'd put myself through that course for 6 months. I went ahead and made my own website after I was certified as a trainer, and that was no easy task. But when it came to actually starting my YouTube channel and getting the camera on and actually recording, my brain was doing everything in its power to justify not clicking record, not recording those videos, not setting up the YouTube channel. I would watch content creator YouTubers like that guide people on content creation, giving them suggestions, ideas, ways to be successful. And that just kind of became my excuse to not create the channel, ironically enough, because I thought, as long as I'm being productive and I'm watching these YouTubers and I'm reading books about becoming successful, then I, low key in like the back of my mind, I would always have a reason to not start the YouTube channel because I was being productive in another area. And you might find that with yourself. You want to start a business, but you think to yourself like, oh, well, I need to be more, you might, be good enough to start that business and knowledgeable enough, but you think to yourself like, oh, well, people aren't going to see me as credible. I need to learn more about it. And then you're reading a book about it instead of actually taking the step of unlocking that part of your life and initiating on it and acting on it and starting that business, YouTube channel, whatever it might be. And that kind of leads me into choosing or relying on, rather, motivations instead of systems. So I have a good buddy of mine, and he struggles to this day to be consistent. He hasn't been to the gym in probably about 6 months now, and he used to go semi-consistently. But I can tell in the way that he talks to me when he speaks about the gym or his goals or what he's planning on doing, that he's relying on motivation and not setting himself up with a system or like a set of habits to accomplish that goal. So he'll reach out to me out of nowhere saying, this weekend's the weekend I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start dieting and I'm going to lose that weight and I'm going to just make it happen. And how do you think that makes me feel when this is the 4th time, 5th time he's telling me this? I just kind of sit back and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. But I never actually believe him. I would rather personally him reach out to me with a question, like if he had just started going to the gym. I would almost rather him not say anything to me at all. I would rather him not tell me about his plans or what he intends to do at all. Because once you make the decision that you're going to do something and you fail to overcome your brain trying to keep you from doing it and make those changes, and you've already told everybody around you what you're going to do, you start to lose credibility. And if you're telling somebody for the 3rd time that you're going to start going to the gym and you don't, and they see that you don't, you're going to lose credibility, not just with them, but you're going to lose credibility with yourself too, because your brain's actually going to start like self-diagnosing you, and you're going to start telling yourself things like, I'm not an athletic person. I'm not consistent, or I'm bad with money if you're like bad with budgeting. And your brain will actually do everything in its power to protect that identity and prove you right. So you're kind of just self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. And that's kind of what is happening to my friend, because, and that kind of is going to segue into what I have to say next. But what I will say before that is, whenever he would message me, I can tell that like he had like watched like an Instagram short or like a YouTube short or something, possibly about like, you know, somebody training, maybe like a influencer like the Trend Twins or Sam Sulek or something, and it's like obvious that, you know, he'd seen a clip of it or something, or like he'd seen like a hype up like funk edited like clip of somebody like lifting a shit ton of weight, and like the emotional response to it is, I want to be that. I want that for myself. And that might be you too. You might, you know, when I was training a long time ago, I used to have like a home gym in my house, in the basement, in my parents' place when I lived with them. And when I was like 16, 17, just starting to train. And I wasn't consistent back then. And when I would train, to get me through it, I would need to play like there were like these YouTube playlists where it would have like quotes from Rocky, it would have quotes from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and all these people that, you know, are trying to like hype you up and give you that motivation to like finish the workout. And that was coming from, and my ability to complete those workouts were coming from extrinsic motivation, which is like motivation from outside things. So it's kind of like recognizing in yourself, like, oh, I wouldn't be able to really do that workout if it weren't for like Arnold Schwarzenegger being in my ear, being like, you have the power, you need to do it with the power. And it just kind of falls apart because you don't have the motivation within yourself after and it's more difficult in the beginning, but if you don't have that motivation in yourself and you're relying on outside things, something clearly needs to change, and your brain's going to use that against you. And that kind of segues into at least the story with my buddy, using motivation instead of habits. He would get hyped up on these videos, and he would like get really inspired by them. And then, because he's the type of guy that like, he gets inspired by something, he wants that thing. And I actually think one thing that really worked against him is, and in all respect to him, because, you know, at least when he gets inspired by something, I'll tell you in a bit, he at least tries to make a change. So I wouldn't say to criticize him or anything, because there's a lot of people that are watching this or that are just carrying on in their life that see these things, they get motivated, they get emotional, and then they just take absolutely no action. So where I will give him credit is he would get motivated by these things, he would want to make a change, and he would do too much. And that leads me to my third thing, which is making too much change too fast. And so what he would do was he would get all motivated from watching whatever he'd watched or whatever ideas he was having, whatever prompted him to text me saying like, oh dude, this weekend, like, I'm making the change, I'm going all in. He would like set himself up on a calorie tracker, or he would ask me for help on it, which I'm always happy to help him with, because, you know, he's my boy, I want him to succeed. And he would like he'd get a workout routine going, and what he would do is like, he would go from not tracking at all, like what he eats at all, not going to the gym at all, and then he would try to go to the gym 6 days a week while tracking everything he eats and trying to be in a calorie deficit and lose all this weight. And that's obviously not going to be the most productive use of his time, because you're going through such a significant change that you're not going to be able to keep it up. You're not going to be able to stay consistent. So if he were to ask me for help again, and I've tried to talk to him about this, and what I'm going to tell you to do is, if you're going to make a change, it's like take the gym for example. So like, we're using the gym a lot in this example because of my friend and because of me using those like workout playlists and everything when I was younger. So when you want to go to the gym and you don't want to change too much too fast, it's like going to the gym and you need to get like a 1 rep max of, like, your goal is like 200 pounds. Like, I want a 1 rep max 200 pounds in a bench press. So you got to get in position, you got to push the weight, and you fail because you're not strong enough yet. And you tell yourself like, oh man, like, that sucks. Like, I was too weak. I'm not the type of person that can bench press 200. So you stop. And then a week later, you get motivated again from something that you see, and you're like, all right, my goal is to bench press 200 pounds. And you try to do it again, and you fail again. It's kind of the definition of insanity, if you think about it. It's like trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if you're trying to do too much at once, it's kind of the definition of insanity. If you keep trying the same shit again, and it's not happening. Your brain's not letting it happen. So what I would encourage you to do, and what I would encourage my buddy to do, instead of making all this change and, wanting to lose the weight as well as training and building muscle, it's very possible for a beginner who's like untrained to lose muscle and gain fat at the same time as their body, recomposes itself as you're going through that. But it's hard because you're going to feel less energetic from the lack of calories, and you're going to need that energy for your training sessions. So what I would tell him to do, and that creates a lot of friction. You can see how that would be difficult, especially for someone who didn't track anything before, was untrained before, and now they want to just like train 6 days a week. So I would tell him to maybe train like 3 days a week, like maybe like a push-pull leg routine, so that instead of worrying about training 6 days a week, he can spend half the time at the gym, get there on days where it's more convenient to get there, and then once you have like a habit going, once you maybe, instead of like he does, trying to train 6 days a week, go all in on the diet, make it so that you're going 3 days a week, you're able to stay consistent with it. Because once you start to get consistent with that lower volume, then you can start to ramp it up over time. So, and there has to come a point where you say to yourself, sorry about that, my phone just went off. That never happens. Except in my last video, of course it happened. But you have to ask yourself, how much of your comfort now are you willing to sacrifice to change the future? Because if you're hell-bent on these productive distractions and, these clips on Instagram, these like dopamine clips that just show like people taking steroids, pumping it out, if you're just relying on that, then you're not going to make a change. And I would encourage you to just take my advice to heart, as I've said before. Don't rely on productive distractions. Don't listen to your brain. Don't be a bitch. Just start that business. Start going to the gym. Just start. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be 6 days a week. tracking calories, tracking every grain of rice that you eat. It can be 2 or 3 days a week to start. It can be, oh, well, I'm trying to lose weight, so let's eat less, but the meals I do eat, let's make them more filling. You know, it doesn't have to be this giant thing right off the bat. Don't stop relying on those fucking Instagram shorts where it's a guy on steroids repping it out. Don't change too much too fast. So I hope this video is able to help you guys stay more consistent with whatever you're doing and actually give you the balls to start that thing that you've been holding off for a while. I don't know if it's a business you're holding off, if you're not going to the gym, maybe you're, procrastinating a project at school or something. Just get it done. You'll feel better now when you did it. I certainly didn't want to get, my camera set up at like 11:55 at night, coming home after work, after I spent all day at work. I'm here recording this video, So my first instinct wasn't, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go home and record this video. It's like, it's that discipline that brings you here, that you want to make a change in your life and you do it. So if you guys want to work with me personally, I'll have my website in the description. I've been training for over 11 years, so if you guys want a program or something, I can help you out with that. Any other videos that you guys might want to see, I'm always open to suggestions. So just put them down in the comments, and have a good night.